Health officials in Florida are urging the residents of Orlando to conserve water because they have a shortage of liquid oxygen. Now, why do they need liquid oxygen? Well, there's a spike in coronavirus cases and there's a shortage, which makes the situation disastrous. Now, of course, the hospitals are overwhelmed with unvaccinated coronavirus patients who need help breathing. Now, Orlando officials are urging residents to reduce their water consumption amid efforts to divert liquid oxygen used for clearing or cleaning, I should say, the water supply to hospitals for COVID-19 patients. As of Friday, the state reported a little more than 150,000 confirmed cases, surpassing 3 million confirmed coronavirus cases in that state alone. Now remember, we're talking about Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis has banned mask mandates, essentially going against anyone trying to do anything responsible during this pandemic. And as the mayor of Orlando says, his name is Buddy Dyer, demand for liquid oxygen is extremely high as the priority is to use it to save lives and to treat critically ill patients. There are impacts to the supply that OUC normally receives. Our hospitals are experiencing the highest number of unvaccinated critically ill patients at this point as any other point during the pandemic. Many of these patients require liquid oxygen. So they're asking that people take short showers, avoid watering their lawns, do anything and everything possible to conserve as much water.
Except one thing, of course, which is
get vaccinated.
I'm sorry, two things, and wear masks.
And wear masks.
Because remember, the governor of Florida, DeSantis, is banning mask mandates. So he's like, look, there's so many people in the hospital that need oxygen, so many people dying from coronavirus. Don't use the water. On the other hand, don't protect yourself either. Don't wear masks, be a total moron, walk around and breathe in the air of other sick people, get yourself and your family sick, and then we'll stuff you into the hospitals, have the worst rate of coronavirus anywhere in the country. You guys remember, I told you this. You remember the conservatives were bragging about how, Florida handled coronavirus right, man. See, they didn't do any precautions, they nailed it. Oops, now they're the worst. They're the worst in cases and deaths. What happened to handling it right? No, they didn't handle it right, and you know that.
Well, I mean, we should have obviously been skeptical of the data coming out of the state of Florida once it became abundantly clear that anyone who was trying to put out accurate data would be targeted by DeSantis's administration. In fact, one of those women was immediately fired. Her home was raided, her computer was taken away as she was trying to get that data out to people even after she was fired. But nonetheless, I do want to show you just how well Ron DeSantis's leadership has been working out in the state of Florida, because if you look at this graph put together by the New York Times, you'll see the massive spike in August. Toward the end of that graph, you'll see in August, you see another spike in the number of coronavirus cases, but you also see the spike carried out in the hospitalizations and also the deaths. And if you look at this map of Florida, you'll see that the entire state has become a hotspot for coronavirus. So the situation on the ground in Florida is dire, it's awful, it's a state of emergency. And I also want to note that for those who are still skeptical about vaccines in Florida, remember, Ron DeSantis wasn't always skeptical about the vaccine, because early on when vaccines were available, he made sure that his donors got the first chance at getting vaccinated. They were the first in line to get vaccinated. So you should ask yourselves, if the wealthy, if the elite in my state had to pay out quite a bit of money in the form of campaign donations to get first come, first serve for that, not first come, first serve, but to get served first that vaccine, maybe the vaccine isn't such a bad idea. Maybe the vaccine is something that powerful and elite people want. Maybe I should get it too to protect myself.
Yeah, I want to show you a couple of things. So when you go back to the graph about the spikes, and you see that the larger spike is in the winter, right? But this is the second largest spike ever that's happening right now in Florida. But I want to explain to you that this spike is actually worse than the one that's larger. Why? Because back then in the winter, no one was vaccinated. So that's the entire population. This huge spike that's happening now is only among 30 to 40% of the population that is not vaccinated. So that means it's about 2 to 3 times more virulent than the earlier variants. So it's spreading like wildfire overall in the state, but most especially among the unvaccinated, where it's spreading at a much greater degree than even the winter spike. Now, I just explained to you something that requires you to understand numbers just this much. So I lost every Republican in the audience, okay? So show the Florida map again of the hotspots. And I want to explain one more thing, this is scientific. This is what dumb looks like. Dumb is not taking a vaccine that could save your life and instead having the entire state be a hotspot and have 150,000 current cases when you didn't have to have almost any. You could have wiped it out completely. Instead, you're all dying. You're dying all over Florida just to prove how dumb you are. So you go to Trump and Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, have I proved it? Have I proved how stupid I am? Congratulations, you have. And now, right now in Florida, over 200 people dying every single day. Guys, think about this. Imagine if we had 200 people die in a massacre in one day. The worst massacre in American history was in Las Vegas. What, about 60 people or so died?
Yeah.
Right? That would be 3 times more. Now you're thinking, actually, the Republicans wouldn't do anything about that either. It's a total death cult. They'd be like, yes, 200 people a day dying from guns. I love guns. I love coronavirus. Yes, that's how stupid this party has become. So the lines have never been clearer, okay? But okay, so they wouldn't do anything about that. But now imagine that there was a Muslim terrorist who was bombing and killing 200 people a day, every single day in the state of Florida. What do you think would happen?
Well, that's when the racism gets triggered and the xenophobia
Exactly.
and the Islamophobia. That's when all of that gets triggered. And that's when people want action immediately, right? But look, this is not, I actually do believe in individual liberty, right? So if you want to engage in destructive behaviors that impact your body and your body alone, have at it. But this is behavior that impacts everyone around you, right? And we're talking about hospitals that are overwhelmed with unvaccinated COVID patients, which means that ICUs cannot take in patients who have other ailments, patients who need care for other reasons. So we have limited resources that are being used on people who just refuse to do the bare minimum in the name of public safety, public health.
Orlando had to put out a statement saying, don't water your lawn because your neighbors are so stupid, they're dying at such an enormous rate that we have to preserve this oxygen for them. I mean, look at this. No, you gotta call it what it is. The media babies Republicans. Oh, are you okay, Republican? Are you okay? Oh, you could be just as smart as a Democrat. We don't know.
They don't like to be judged.
Can't tell.
Don't judge them.
Okay, I'm sorry. I won't judge you as you're sitting in the hospital dying. We're trying to help you, but you won't take the help because Tucker told me not to do it. So there's no help for these guys. So what do you want me to tell you? So I guess keep dying. We tried to prevent it, but you believed in DeSantis. You'll probably vote for him again, even if you have family members who died.
DeSantis.
By the way, conservative talk show host Phil Valentine from Tennessee, longtime conservative talk show host, told people, of course, don't take the vaccine, doesn't trust it, etc. Boom, got COVID, boom, died, dead. He's dead. And from his hospital bed, just like the South Carolina politician I told you about last week, he's like, oh my God, take the vaccine. But it was too late for him. Now you're supposed to be, oh, my heart goes out to Phil Valentine. No, my heart doesn't go out to him. He told other people not to take it. They probably died. I don't know how many people he killed in his audience with his dumb advice, but it turns out he was one of them. But even being part of a death cult and seeing your own family members die doesn't change their minds because they're zombies. So if you want to cry about it, you can go and cry about it. But what you should really cry about is your own family members dying from an actual disease that's killing you, and you can't talk to them because they're so painfully stupid. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.